Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to share with you all a trip that my mom and I just returned from. We did 9 days, 6 states. So Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada. We did cross through Arizona again. And then Utah. So 6 states, 5 national parks. So we have the Petrified Forest and Painted Canyons, the Grand Canyon. I'm trying to remember them all in order. Zion, Bryce Canyon, and the Capitol Reefs National Park. And about 5 beaches. This is going to take me a minute. So we did Ocean Beach, La Jolla, Laguna, San Clemente Pier, and the Strands Beach. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here in just a second. I do have pictures that'll be coming through, so feel free to check those out. Also, you can always check out my Facebook page where I've got a ton of pictures from our trip there. I do want to say this was meant to be a 10-day trip. However, with work, I did want to be back a day earlier before working 36 hours in 3 days so that I'd have just that down day. And I am so thankful that we did end up back home on the 9th day. For me, I didn't really think it was this big of a deal, or a big deal in general, that my mom and I had went and just did all this, because I grew up taking road trips, so like going places in a car and seeing all kinds of cool stuff while you're out in the car is just like normal. However, when I got back and I kind of tallied it all up and people asked like, oh, what'd you do? Where'd you go? And I was like, well, it's just easier if I give them these numbers. And this is what we did. People were, well, they seemed rather shocked. Like, holy cow, you did quite a bit in a little amount of time. And so I decided to share that with everyone. I guess maybe so that you all can be inspired and encouraged to go out there and visit our world and see our world and live life and take a break from work and just get out there and see that really we're pretty small on this big, huge living earth, which I think is so cool. So let's start with day one. We left Colorado at about 8:30 a.m. and we did head into New Mexico. Our first official stop was at Albuquerque's Old Town. We walked around there, and then we ended up coming across the art museum, which was really cool because my mom is an artist, and we've gone to the art museum here in Colorado Springs, and I just feel it's such a fun thing for my mom and I to share together, going, because she enjoys it so much, and going and looking at the art, and it really helps me kind of appreciate all that a little bit more too. I'm not so much an artist like that at all. Although I go and I get really inspired and I'm like, I'm going to get a canvas and I'm going to just paint this really cool thing. And then I don't know how they do it really, but props to all of the artists out there. And so anyway, that was day one, and we stopped at the art museum there, finished our walk around Old Town, got back in the car and just continued our drive. And we ended up in Arizona just in time to tour the Petrified Forest and the Painted Canyons National Park. And they're pretty much 2 separate things, but 1 national park. And I hadn't been there in about 18 years. So it was really fun to go back and see these places and visit them with a new set of eyes, I guess. I was really excited too because we got there at sunset, right around sunset, or right before the sun was gonna set. So we had just enough time to go and explore a little bit of the Petrified Forest. And there were a few places we got out and walked around. It was just a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. There was one part where my mom is running, and she runs over to this area, and I'm like, Mom, are we supposed to be over there? And she says, I didn't see any no trail signs, did you? And I'm like, this is where I get it. Why am I even asking her? Because it's usually me. And no, there weren't any. But with that being said, like, my mom is 72 years old, and it just really melts my heart to see her enthusiasm and her energy for life still. And I think that's very evident not only within her appearance, because in my opinion she doesn't look 72, but just within her endurance for everything. She's very just go, 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 and she does it. I mean, I'm so proud and honored to call my mom my mom. She inspires me, and that's what I aspire to be when I am 72, is full of energy and life and running around, and it was a really good time. So day one, we did Old Town in Albuquerque, the Art Museum in Albuquerque, the Petrified Forest and Painted Canyons in Arizona, and then we ended up getting a hotel room. I can't even remember where. We stayed the night, and then day two, we decided that the Grand Canyon wasn't too far away, so we ended up going to the Grand Canyon the next day, and we spent quite a few hours there, and we walked about 4 miles along the rim of the Grand Canyon. Just a really awesome place. Just so big and vast and just really mind-blowing. You've got to be there in person to see it. It was just really neat, really awesome experience. So the Grand Canyon, day two. And then we drive down through Sedona, which was just really beautiful. I mean, it's just everywhere. I feel like everywhere is just filled with beauty. That's me though, right? So we stopped at a bridge. I'm not sure what the bridge is called. If anyone knows, please like leave it down below in the comments, or, you know. So I want to say it started with an M, but again, I'm not too sure. And it was right outside of Flagstaff or Sedona. Anyway, we end up in Yuma. We get our hotel, and the next day, so we're on day three, we pretty much start heading toward San Diego area, and we get into California. Day three, we stop at the Mission Trails Regional Park there. We do a little bit of hiking. We then proceed to go to Ocean Beach, do a little bit of walking on the beach there. We then meet up with family, go out to dinner at Cinco de Mayo. So Mexican food it was. And that was it for day three. Day four, we went to La Jolla Beach, which is the beach that has all the seals. That was really cool. They've got some really neat, like, little cave things that go through to the water. Or one of them at least. But it was just a pretty neat beach. I thought it was really awesome to see how, like, the seals are just there and we're just here. And we're all just living peacefully. Like, that was neat. As simple as it may be. But that was really cool to just see the interaction, or lack of, between the two. That we're just all there enjoying what is in existence, the beach. So that's day four. Day four, we end up driving further into California and hang out with more family. So day four, La Jolla Beach. Now, day five, that day, we ended up going to Laguna Beach, and the weather in California was not like bright, sunny, 72 degrees as one would normally expect, but that's okay because we're from Colorado and our weather is like crazy. So we didn't know whether or not it was going to rain. We didn't know what it was doing. We brought an umbrella. We went to Laguna Beach. We walked around Laguna Beach, checking out all the little art places, eating macaroons, I think they're called, the little French cookies with filling. Like, they were okay. And then, of course, walking along the coast there at Laguna Beach. And, of course, visiting their art museum. Again, day five. So Laguna Beach, walking around Laguna, and the Laguna Art Museum. Very cool. Day six, we went shopping at the outlets in Carlsbad. And to be honest, like, I'm not a huge shopper. I pretty much usually know what I want. So really it was about walking around and just kind of seeing what was there. My mom and I each got a new purse though, so that worked out and was a lot of fun. We then drove back up and had lunch and walked there around the San Clemente Pier. And that was a really good lunch. A salmon BLT, very delicious. I've never had anything like it before. And I like to go places and try what they have, you know, eat the more local things they have there. So that was a really good time. I mean, the whole trip was a really good time, so you may hear me like saying that over and over. So day 7 was Strands Beach. That one I would have to say is probably one of my more favorite beaches, mainly because I feel that it has, it's just nice. It's got this variation where you're going down a trail and then you're walking along the coast and then you have these stairs you can climb back up. And it's just a fun beach. For me, in my opinion, a fun place to go. So Strands Beach, mind you, those past couple of days we were with family, and so hanging out with them and doing stuff here and there with them as well. But it was a really good time. So day 8, we start our drive home, and we stop in Vegas for a quick lunch on the Strip. Like, please, nothing in Vegas is quick. For whatever reason, I thought we were going to have a quick stop for lunch in Vegas was beyond me. Not only that, yes, I've been to Vegas before, but I totally don't think I've ever driven there. So, like, I just wanted to get out of there. You know, and nothing's like a straight shot anywhere. Like, we parked in a parking garage and then we had to walk like all crazy just to get to it was crazy. And so we ended up getting back in the car, driving closer to where we were actually trying to go, and thankfully that worked out a lot better. So we had lunch there. Of course, this was all my idea, there on the Strip in Vegas. And then we decided to hop back in the car and get out of there. And we ended up in, I had all these organized a second ago. We ended up in Zion. Zion was a really cool national park. Just these huge, huge rocks and cliffs, whatever you want to call them, going up. Really neat. What we did in Zion was we did the scenic route on their little shuttle, and we did get off at one stop and just hike a little trail around. Came back, got back on the shuttle, and then got in the car and drove through the rest of the park. We ended up stopping in a city called Penguich to stay the night there. Now, that city is just really small. Like, makes me uncomfortable small. Everything's closed at like 8 p.m. I'm like, oh, we've been in the car for forever. We haven't eaten and everything's closed. No, there was one restaurant open, thankfully. But, so day 9, we start our drive to Bryce Canyon. And you know, we wake up, we're like wanting our coffee, and, you know, I don't know, the hotel room had coffee that we could make, but I'm just really weird about stuff. Like, I'm very particular, and so I just figured we'd stop and get coffee. Well, the town is just like so small that there weren't really like coffee shops. So as we're like driving towards Bryce Canyon, I see this sign that says espresso. I get really excited. Like, yes, real coffee. Not just coffee, but espresso. Like, I'm so excited. So we park. I run in, and they have coffee. They have espresso. And so I'm like, okay, cool. What sizes do you have? And he's like, oh, we just have this one size, and it's like a 12-ounce cup. Okay, well, how much is it? Mind you, it was for espresso, so like a cafe latte. And it was $5.95 for this 12-ounce cup, which, mind you, like, there's this much foam on it. The total is like over $13 for two 12-ounce espresso coffees. And that like really boggled my mind. Let me explain why. Because later that day we go to another coffee house that is well known, of which I will not say its name because I really don't care to support them. However, I'm sure you could put 2 and 2 together. And we get a large iced cafe latte and a medium hot cafe latte, and we pay $10 and a penny. So I just want to say that, like, I felt a little taken advantage of as being a tourist, but you know what? as much as I wanted to be unhappy about that situation, and clearly it does bother me a little bit because I feel like, where's the respect for the individual in those situations? And I'm just going to let it be. It's a small town. Maybe they make their money wherever they can on whichever tourist they can, and so be it. But what I really tried to do was just be thankful for the fact that I had coffee and espresso at that, regardless of how much I had just paid for it, but that we had it. So there's my little like pet peeve of our trip. But anyway, we go into Bryce Canyon and we pretty much had only had the coffee at that point, and we get out and we decide to do this hike that they have there. And it was supposed to be a loop, and and it's like a declining hike, and it's not like easy, even though you're going downhill. I mean, it was. And then we get around, and you're supposed to start coming back up this loop at some point. However, the trail was closed, so we had to then come back up this like zigzagging trail that's just going higher and higher, and it was awesome to watch my mom do it though, because on our way back up, we had encountered a couple people who were like, well, I don't know about this, and I'm just not sure if I can do it. And to watch my mom tell someone, you know, well, I'm 72 and I just did it and you can do it, and it really makes me so happy. Clearly, I'm very impressed with my mother. But yeah, so Bryce Canyon, it was a really neat national park. So all of these national parks, to an extent, they were like similar, yet they were so completely different. And I can't even really use the word similar. I think it's just because they were essentially all some sort of rock formations or, you know, of the such. But a really good time. We did a hike there early morning-ish. And then we just continued the drive. And at this point, I was feeling so tired that I was telling my mom that, like, I think we should just get back home today. Just drive straight through. My mom wanted to do a national park called Canyonlands. And we had thought about it, and we really kind of just kept thinking, what were we going to do? Well, we just continued to drive, and the Capitol Reefs National Park was another one on our way. This one was pretty neat because you don't have to pay anything to get through it. You just drive through. It was so cool and such another neat national park. Now, this one did have really cool petroglyphs, which I highly recommend anybody check out if they go through here, because the petrified forest had petroglyphs too. However, they weren't as extensive or like as in depth or up close as these. And so I really liked the ones here at Capitol Reef. So at Capitol Reef, for the most part, we drove through. There was one little area where we got out and went to look at the petroglyphs, and then just continued on our way, because at that point, we pretty much decided that we were tired and we wanted our own beds, and we just wanted to be home, because essentially there is no place like home. And driving back into Colorado, when you're coming in from Utah, of all the things we saw, which we saw quite a bit of stuff, and maybe it's just because I'm from here and I love this state, but it's just such a beautiful drive. Absolutely beautiful. And as soon as you hit Colorado, it seems like there's a river right there next to the interstate, and you're driving and it's just flowing, and it's just, you've got the mountains and they're huge and beautiful, and you have some of, you know, this sort of landscape around, and it's just so pretty. So that drive on I-70 back into Colorado, absolutely awesome. There was also one other part in Utah that I remember just being so absolutely incredible, and I'm gonna hopefully have a picture here for you, and it's just where the rocks, like these huge mountains are coming down, and they're just going like this, like one and then the other, and I'm on a road and I'm like, where's the road? But it was just so neat because for me, I do feel sometimes I think about it like, oh, we live on this earth that's flat. I mean, obviously it's not flat. Like, we have mountains, and I'm not talking about the shape of our earth, so let's not get started on that conversation. I'm talking about how sometimes we can just become so familiar with our situations that we lose perspective of what's actually out there and what actually exists. And so, and I mean, we have mountains here, and I get it, like, it's not flat, but it always amazes me when I notice the hills, or when I notice, like, the landscape isn't like this, like I'm thinking it is. But when we really realize, like, oh, there is an incline on this hill on my way to work that I've driven every day for the past 7 weeks, or whatever the case may be. And I don't know why it is, but it's those little things on our earth that really just, like, they make me feel so small. So anyway, there's this part, and it's in Utah, and it's multiple mountains just kind of coming down, and it was just so neat, and I just felt so small, and the world around me that I live in just felt so big and unimaginable and beautiful, and it was a really neat thing. So anyway, this is my, trip with my mother, who is 72 years old. Again, we did a total of 9 days, 6 states: Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Nevada, and Utah. 5 national parks and 5 beaches, 2 art museums. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time. So here's my experience. Thank you, everyone who has watched. Get out there and travel. Take your week off of work. Use your vacation. Like, go see this world that we live in, because it's ever changing, just like us. And it is a living being just like us as well. So get out there and experience life in its most natural state. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you have a fantastic day, or adventure, or journey,